Dice concept baits have absolutely taken over this year, and Geecrack has decided to throw something of their own into the ring. Today we're going to talk about the Kemushi Q-Bomb. All right, guys, so dice baits have kind of been a super big part of this year of fishing. They've been in Japan now for a long time. They originated with a brand called Fieldside and then were adapted through a partnership with OSP to be more widely selected. Now, in Japan, there's 10 different sizes of the Fieldside dice. There are tooth dice. There are just a ton of different variants that are kind of all over the place. And the one that we have here today from Geecrack is going to be the Kemushi. So this is more of a ball style of dice concept. So you're going to see here in the middle, you're going to have a round ball instead of a cube. The big difference with the Q-Bomb is going to be the plastic and also the strand length. On a lot of the other dice concepts, the strands are actually quite short compared to this, which, I mean, each of them will have their own little place. Today, we're going to talk about the two different sizes, so the 1 and the 1.2 inch, and then we'll get into some rigging options. So I will show you the difference. So they're going to come in a package like this, first and foremost. It's a nice little package. Everybody thinks you only get one in a pack, but if you look in the back little window there, you're going to get 3 more. So 4 to a pack in the 1 inch and the 1.2 standard. I think right now at the time of filming this, there is 8 different colors. Geecrack is amazing at expanding their color lineup. They do a ton of color additions in their whole lineup every year. I'm assuming this is going to get that same treatment. So be on the lookout for all the new colors coming in this. Now, let's just have a look at the size difference from the 1 and the 1.2. Bam. So it's actually fairly substantial, more substantial than you would think just by being a 0.2 of an inch. 2 different sizes, 1 inch and 1.2. Now, why is there 2 different sizes? Why don't you just do one? Well, the 1 inch for me, which is that smaller guy, this is almost exclusively a drop shot bait. It's small enough that I can still get my, number 1, number 2 size hook through it. Has a great fall rate. It's just a little bit of a smaller bite-sized profile, as you can see, and that's pretty much where it ends for me with this. Now, if you want to throw no sinker rig or something like that, this is gonna work great, but I would recommend to go to the 1.2 for almost everything else that we're gonna talk about. This is still gonna probably be the number 1 seller because most people, the way that it is predominantly fished right now is on that drop shot, so the 1 inch is still the one that everybody reaches for. There's a ton of different ways you can throw this, so you can fish in any water column, in any depth, and that's what we're here to do today. So the 1 inch drop shot, pretty simple, straightforward. I like to run a long leader, and when I'm working this bait, it's just slow little pulses. Like, I almost don't want the weight to leave the bottom. I'm just pulsing the rod tip so that this is kind of coming forward and going back. While I'm doing that, all of the strains are kind of bunching up in the back like a little fireball, and then when you leave it, it kind of circles it like an orb. If you've ever seen one of those electric little ball things that you put your finger to and the electricity kind of sticks to that, well, how it looks without your finger being touched to it with all the electricity kind of going out, that's what this looks like. People think that these strains are down there going crazy all the time. When this is stationary, nothing's happening with the strains. They're just kind of standing out like spiky. It's pretty underwhelming, if I'm being honest, and I'm not sure really why they eat it. But when you pulse it, that's where the real magic happens. They compress and then they release. They compress and then they release. That's how I seem to get most of my bites. It's been crazy effective on this guy. Okay, let's move over to the 1.2. This is where you can start getting creative with how you want to fish this thing. One of my favorite ways to fish the 1.2 size is on a no sinker rig. So you'll take a little sniper finesse hook. This is a size 1. You can use a 1/0 if you want to go a little bit bigger. Just hook this guy through the flat part there, throw it out. It'll have a super slow sink. So it's gonna look like it's gonna sit on top of the water, but once it breaks, it'll have a very slow fall. If you're a bank fisherman, this is a great way to go. If you're fishing super shallow fish, this is a good way to go. You have to be patient because it does take time for this to get down. No sinker rig, phenomenal way to do it. Now, If you're impatient or you have a little bit deeper fish, you can also use like an inch wacky jig head. This is a Zappu product, same premise. You're basically gonna hook it on there through the flat side, and I'll actually walk you through where to hook each thing. It's just gonna have a little bit of weight to it. This is a 3/32 size. You can adjust to your depth, but this is another great way to do it. Now, as you guys seen, when we were in Japan hanging out at the Zappu booth, we were showing you a product called the RPZ Talisman. For whatever reason, it hasn't made it over here yet, but I've kind of been making my own using a couple different products. So this is sort of what that looks like. I'll actually hook it onto the bait, just so you can see. There's two different sides to the bait. It looks like a complete ball, but there actually is two different sides. One is going to have this little spike built in. Can you see that, Ash? So one is gonna have this little spike built in, and then the other side is gonna be sort of like a flat bottom. Hopefully you guys are getting that. I'm gonna hook into the flat bottom. I like to leave that spike side out. So with my little RPZ knockoff here that I've made, and I'll walk you guys through the stuff that I used to make it. You basically hook it through that flat side. It comes up, and this is essentially a very short Geecrack, but with everything how it sort of works, it has a little bit more free motion to it. This is my #1 way to fish it outside of a drop shot. So I'll either be drop shotting or I'll be throwing it on this little Geecrack RPZ thing that I've sort of Frankenstein together. Now, if you want to make this rig yourself, all you need is like a wacky hook. So this is the special wacky from Hayabusa. You'll need a split ring. You'll also need a round snap. This is what you're actually going to connect to with your line. And then you need this little weird thing from Great Lakes Finesse. It's going to be called the quick shot clip. This is what you're going to drop your weight to. Basically, you connect this to the split ring, which is connected to the hook, and then you can just pop on and off your weights as you please. But that little piece there from GLF allows you to quick change your weight out. This was originally designed to be used with a drop shot, but I just use it here. It works perfectly fine. Another way I like to fish this thing is on a legitimate Nico rig. So you're gonna take your nail weight, you're gonna shove it into that flat end that I was telling you about, and then you just take your favorite Nico hook. I like the Hunter hook, but if you guys are a fan of like the sniper hooks or whatever it may be, all that works. That's another super effective way to fish it. So you can really dial this into whatever depth of water you want to use. You can also fish this on a free rig. You can use a traditional Geecrack. It's a very versatile bait. This style of fishing is so new that we're constantly learning and developing new styles to throw these little things on. Something you need to remember with these guys, these appendages are going to move so much when you apply any bit of movement. So a lot of the time you can really overwork these, spook the fish. It's one of those things where less is really more. When you're using these, you need to slow down. You can use all the same equipment. Like I'm using my 822 DSR on this guy when I'm drop shotting. With this guy, a lot of 7.6 medium light, 7.6 medium, depending on the technique, but everything is very slow. I'm never applying a crazy amount of action to it. I'm never shaking aggressively. It's always just little pulses, little movements, nothing too erratic. You got to think, man, these appendages, there's so many of them coming off of it. You can really overwork this in a hurry. So keep that in mind. If you guys have any questions about any Emo Kemushi from Geecrack, let me know in the comments. Make sure you guys like and yeah, enjoy it. This is a great bait. We finally have them in stock. Enjoy them.